Mr. Prashant, I think before I jump into it, perhaps you could say a little bit about yourself and also about Avaada, and then we'll jump to it.
Thank you, Nishaanth, for having us. My name is Prashant Choubey. I'm with Avaada for 16, 17 years now, since the day we founded the company. I'm a graduate from Delhi Engineering College. Then I did my AMP from Harvard Business School. I worked with NHPC, which is one of a large hydro power company, then Reliance, and last 16, 17 years. The way we wanted renewable ambition and vision, and that's what we precisely did in Avaada. Avaada is one of a large clean energy conglomerate in India. We started as an IPP, and we are reaching almost like 30 gigawatt of a portfolio now, quite large across the value chain of renewable. Presence is into manufacturing as well, over 8.5 gigawatt of a solar PV manufacturing cell, moving into glass as well. And again, on a downstream side, green fuel. We did some of the largest project in India of each time, starting with 150 megawatt in Neemuch, second largest solar of that in the world. 2 years ago, we did 1.2 gigawatt single location project in Bikaner. And we are firm believer in working across the value chain, integrating and contributing to what we can do for India. The name Avaada, many people pronounce wrongly. Somebody say Avaada. It's very simple for us. A has been taken from Ayurveda, which is life science. That is what stands sustainability for us. Vaada is in Hindi, it's a promise. Vaada for sustainable promise, that's what the Vaada is all about.
Wonderful, thank you for summing that up. The reason I want to have this conversation is 3 years ago, Mr. Vineet had joined us for the first event we ever did. It's 2023 in September, it was just across the road in Shangri-La. And we could see from Mr. Vineet was drawing parallels from the solar days, 17, 18 years ago, the tariffs, the long-term contracts we got locked into, the scale in which it was adopted and where we are today in that industry. Do you think green hydrogen will go through that same journey like solar? Are we going to see that kind of belief that we saw for solar, the long-term contracts which, still governments are paying out? We don't see any sense of that in green hydrogen today. But if you can comment on this comparison between the solar sector and green hydrogen.
As I look back on renewable or a solar that we started, at that time, what was the perception? So it was like a very costly power, very expensive power. It's not bankable, a lot of issues, it's not reliable. And those were the challenges at that time in the renewable. Look at where we stand today as far as solar is concerned. So what made it possible? You rightly said, one, a very clear direction of a policy, stability, policy consistency, auction, transparent pricing, a lot of government support. That is all has converted solar where we stand, one of our most competitive source of energy today, solar is. Now if I draw the comparison, green hydrogen is at almost the same inflection point today. Difference is when we are doing solar or renewable, we are trying to replace another form of energy and the demand already existed. That were the two fundamental differences. Wherein if you look at green hydrogen today, it's a much complex ecosystem. There's a lot of need for integration. So wherein solar and wind, they were the standalone projects. They are quite an integrated project. There's so many ecosystem elements you need to look into. Renewable energy itself, one, water, ports, supply chain, logistics, a lot of safety, certifications, harmonization. It's a very complex chain. What made it possible probably from that time to today is scale. Why the solar prices come down or the renewable prices come down? Because of tremendous government support, willingness to do it, and the scale. And I believe with that scale, green hydrogen or green ammonia, any of our derivative can do the same role as the solar has done for India.
No, just expanding a little bit on that, when solar began, we didn't see huge commitments from the big conglomerates and everybody coming. It was, few people who believed for climate or renewable energy that did it. And today in green hydrogen, you saw the targets announced in the morning, the aggregation, I think in my presentation I showed it was close to 11 to 10 million tons of hydrogen by 2030 announced. And we are at 12,000 tons of production today, right? Now, Mr. Prashant, over here, we can see that when you draw comparisons, you highlighted something very important, which is the larger ecosystem that hydrogen is part of and all that you need for it to happen. But then looking at the announcements, looking at the intent from industry, do you think that it will follow a different pathway when compared to solar, and green hydrogen can scale faster and we will see the costs come down rapidly?
I think it depends a lot on, and you also said the reasons for it. In earlier days, the solar were at about 16 and 70 rupees, so who will sign the PPA? So government came forward, they signed the first of the PPAs in those days and make it really, really. And I'll again say, scale is what will make a difference. The only learning curve which we had from the solar days to today, in solar days, we did not have any of our manufacturing capabilities. We thought very late that our entire solar mission depended on some other country. Good that we have that wisdom, and for a green hydrogen mission, right from day one, we are thinking about developing the manufacturing ecosystem in the country. There has been a lot of efforts in terms of creating supply ecosystem in the country. So there have been phenomenal supply ecosystem which has been created. Attention is being put now to ports, to transmission system, to water availability, ensuring that hydrogen hubs. So at least that thought process, the wisdom is there. What is probably lacking is demand. And unless that demand is come, there are like 100 announcements, right? 100, 200 projects. How many have gone for FID? I think less than 2% or 3% today. I think the fundamental anchor here is the offtake of the demand. Gone were the days we are talking about the demand visibility. The time has come for the demand certainty now, right? So with the supply ecosystem almost in place now, that's the region looking at the supply ecosystem. There have been so many announcements which has come, right? And second important element has been that green hydrogen or green ammonia is as cheap as the cost of renewable energy is. So because of that, wherever that leverage is there in terms of renewable energy making competitive for going for a hydrogen, you see a lot of renewable energy based companies, they have moved first into a green hydrogen value chain.
Well, Mr. Prashant, now some slightly more difficult questions, right? I have seen...
Try my best to answer.
So we've seen, okay, first let's start with the green ammonia auctions and, your perceptions on that. I don't know, Avaada did participate, but it seems like you were clear about, what you wanted out of that and you didn't go any further. But, maybe a little bit about the Avaada perspective on the domestic auctions, and number two, how realistic are the prices we are seeing, and what's your confidence level on those projects coming online?
I think that was probably the only auction, and your first question was with drawing a parallel with solar. So I'll say a very robust supply chain of robust tendering process, number of bids have what made solar competitive. The SACI ammonia tender was probably single tender which has come in last 3 to 4 years, and it was much awaited for it. So we knew that it is going to be very, very competitive. As I said, a lot of companies have already invested, including us, into preparing our basic ecosystem. As you go to an off-taker, you need to show your project at what scale, right? Whether you have figured out renewable energy configuration without you have fundamental licenses, how your supply chain going to work, how is your electrolyzer going to work, what's your assumptions. So it's a welcome state, at least one auction which has come. Adding on, I think we need many more such auctions now, and as they come, we'll see, and the results were very competitive. Every participant would have their own set of assumptions. We had our own set of assumptions, basis. Our project is in East Coast. We already have land secured. We are developing much of our renewable energy configuration based in Odisha itself. We already were probably the first who had availed 700 megawatt of a GNA for our project. We are the only one who have 300 megawatt of a banking agreement executed with Gridco at the moment. We had all those things figured out. We went up to the point where it really made a sense for us to be competitive, and we did participated to that level. It's a good sign. The prices are competitive. Now, there are two important things now, converting those LOIs into PPA or selling agreement, because we are already struggling in renewable with 45 plus gigawatt of LOI issued yet to be converted into PPA. So the immediate need to give that signal back to the industry investors that those auctions result will get into a firm's sales agreement now. That's very important. And as the ecosystem build up, as the scale build up, India has already shown that yes, we can be as competitive and almost like at half the price of what being traded in the European auction. So I think that would be a sense, and based on our own configuration, our own assumptions, our own optimization, we'll try to do wherever, up to what level we can go.
And I believe you also got your pre-certification for that project?
Yes.
Wonderful. So, you're ready to go, and give us a little bit of a hint on your conversations with off-takers, because I've seen your teams over the 3 years, very often in Japan, in Korea, in Europe. Mr. Deepak Agarwal is quite a regular face, and I do speak to him. So give us whatever you could share in terms of these conversations with off-takers in the 3 regions, and which region looks more promising. And if I were to bet, if it's going to be European offtake or a East Asia offtake, where would you bet?
I think as we set up our own fundamentals in place in terms of our own project preparedness, to take it to a level of which looks very, very bankable to the lenders and gives a realistic sense to the off-takers as well. That's a project which can really be converted into it. The regions which I have shown, they are all important. We participated in CHPS, Korea. The KI certification is really a very, very toughest one in terms of settling their expectation in terms of the carbon intensity and your energy calculation. The process took almost 8 months to get the Tier 1 certification of KEI. That much is a difficult process.
Mr. Prashant, if you can expand a little bit on that. You said the carbon intensity calculation was the more challenging part.
So it's basically, for Korea, it's basically the price of electricity. That is what the thumb rule is them for as a benchmark, right? And whatever your internal calculation works out, even the banking was one of a very difficult jargon to explain it to the Korea part, how does the banking work. So it took about 6 to 8 months. I fully concur what the Gautam said in this morning, based on, it took them out 4 years or 5 years for a contract to get converted with the Uniper. And I think that's a process, so it will require a lot of patience, a lot of project discipline, a lot of optimization. It's a learning curve. You need to learn every day, try to make your energy configuration and things as much competitive as possible. We have been working with all of them now, whether it's the European off-takers or with some of those in East, including Japan and Korea, including whether traders or a shipping company. It's a vast canvas, and I hope all of us who are trying to do it are trying to do it. Some of them, we are in an advanced stage of discussions now. And there have been a lot of development which have happened. We are all aware, geopolitics. And when that happens, the thought process that the climate is a business takes a back seat, and business's climate takes the front seat. So that is what has happened. For example, we have seen the setback at IMO, which has happened now. It's a deferred and a delayed decision, but we believe that the wisdom will prevail. It's important to do that. Similarly, Korean tender getting cancelled or something like that. So we believe we are in touch with them, and hopefully, the next couple of months, we believe that we'll get a good news on that front.
Wonderful. Can I have a round of applause for Mr. Prashant Choubey as well?
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time and sharing your insights. We are going